we are going to be dwelling more on the cold press today. So I already brought the coconut here for grinding. However, if you notice this coconut, you will notice that you can see purely white coconut. What that implies is that I already removed the brown part of the coconut. The back part of that coconut that is usually deep brown, it has been scraped off this coconut. I like to make my own cold pressed coconut this way. I usually get cold press from that one that has back also, but I prefer removing the back for a purer outcome. So after the grinding, I'm showing you the end result. The grinding must be smooth. You can see how smooth this is. It is after we have brought it like this that we're now going to be doing the washing. So after doing that, we are going to, you can see me that there are 3 different bowls here. The coconut flour is beneath, and that is where I'm scooping it from. I fetched a bowl of water. There's another bowl beside that has water in it. You'll be seeing how I'm going to be doing it, because I need to do a first rinsing, then I'm going to do a second rinsing throughout my process. This other empty bucket is where I'm going to be pouring in my coconut milk. So like you saw when I was doing the hot press coconut oil, we have to sieve out the milk before we leave the milk for some hours, before we are going to scoop out the fat, and we are going to cook it. That is for cold press. That is for hot press rather. However, there is a little difference when we are doing our cold press, because some people believe that the cold press has not gone through severe heat and that it has all its nutrients intact. However, I must tell you that whenever we make coconut oil, the quantity of cold press that we get is usually something around 10% of the hot press that we get from that coconut. So the cold press is usually far smaller than the hot press. So you can see that I've done the first rinsing, I've done the second rinsing, and I'm pouring in the shaft inside this container. I'm doing another batch. You are supposed to be taking it batch by batch. You are not supposed to take the coconut flour or cake or shaft. You are not supposed to take too much of it. It will be difficult for you to rinse all at once. So when this water becomes very milky, I pour it into this bucket as I'm done with the water. If I continue to put in my sieve into that water, it's not going to bring out the milk from the shaft any longer. I'm pouring this because this is still lighter. It's still showing that the water can still contain milk. So I added water to this bucket. Then I'm going to be adding water to this second bucket, so that it's still going to serve as my second rinsing. So it is important that this is a process that you must follow when you are making some of these productions like coconut oil. Like I said earlier, the coconut tree has every part of its body, the branches, the bark, the coconut, the shell, every part of it has one thing or the other. Every part of it is so useful. So you can see me going through this process. This is already milky. You know, I did this, used only this one to sieve once, because I already used it as my second water earlier. So, and I poured this like I did earlier, and I'm going to be doing my last rinsing now. So I already explained when I posted the previous video that we should not be mindful of the water, even though I was a little mindful of the water here because I had limited bowls and I wanted to show my viewers how I was doing this. You can see me using my hand to take that, because the later part of this coconut flour was having more water than that upper part that I showed earlier. That upper part was a little bit looking dry, but the later part now has milk already settled beneath it. So I didn't take so much. I poured it this way, and so for those of us that want to cook our coconut rice, For those of us that probably want to drink coconut milk, we can take this as our coconut milk. However, when I want to drink it as milk, I prefer it to be more concentrated. So if you have a juicer, all you need to do is remove the back of your coconut. That is optional. Then put it in the juicer. The milk will be more concentrated than this, because in some cases you may not need to add water, or you may add just little water. But in this case, because we know that we need to remove the milk from the shaft, if we remove it well enough, it will determine the quantity of fat we are going to get that we're now going to be cooking, or we are going to be putting aside to be able to get our coconut oil. So this process is done. I'm showing on the plastic. You can see the shaft that we got. I'm pouring in the milk together into this container so that we can see the quantity of milk that I eventually got. So I'm going to be leaving this for several hours depending on my schedule. Then I'll be coming back to it like the way it was in the hot press. The milk, the fatty looking content will have come up and the water will have settled down. We don't need the water beneath. Most important thing we need is the fat or the sediment up. Now here is the flour. I'm still going to be talking about how we are going to be using this. It is edible for humans. We can use it to make different meals with different soup. Now I'm putting it into the tray so that I can dry it. I'm going to be making a video specifically for this, where I'll be explaining to us how we are supposed to use this. Now we are moving shortly into the process of how we are going to eventually get our our cold pressed coconut oil. So this is 18 hours after. You can see the oil. You know, I had to start using my spoon to scoop it. I will using my spoon to scoop it little by little into this glass jar. It takes a while. It takes a while, my people. It doesn't you don't just sit down 1 minute and just start and just be done trying to sieve the oil. No. Sorry about the lightning. All you need to do is to be patient. You are going to see the hot oil cold pressed oil all over. So you will just be patiently using your spoon to scoop, as you can see me do. In some cases, it is preferable that you take this, your bucket or your bath or whatever container you have used to put the coconut, the sieved coconut milk, whichever container, is always bringing out more oil if it's in the sun, if it's a sunny day. It doesn't bring enough oil if it's a rainy day. So you would rather use the other method. And what's the other method? You are going to scoop this top like I did when I was doing the hot press. I removed the water before the time I needed it. So if you do this bucket like you saw in the previous video, you will come back and remove the uppermost part into another bucket. Then you go and put it into your freezer. Of course, the bucket will be smaller than this. So when you put it into your freezer, the coconut oil will congeal. Then you'll be able to scoop it. So you can use the warm weather to your favor, and you can also use the cold weather to your favor. So I eventually brought this outside. You know, you can see the milk beneath this fat. So this fat, we are still going to cook it later. We are going to, after we have removed the whole cold press that we need. You can see the oil all over on top. I'm trying to show us so that we can see. So it takes effort and concentration to be able to. Sometimes when we are even scooping, there's no how we will be scooping some of this fat into the container. But after a while, the fat will settle into that place. I'm going to sieve the cold press off that glass jar. Then I'm going to pour the beneath into the pot when I'm already cooking the remnant fat that is remaining after I've removed my cold press to my satisfaction. So I did this, and after a while I didn't really get enough oil as I was supposed to any longer. I now brought this outside the house, because as you can see, this scooping that I've been doing from the top, from the side of the bucket, I'm actually doing it inside. So I brought it out. I could not bring it out that night when I did the scooping because the milk was overfilled. So I didn't want something that I will be trying to move it from upstairs downstairs, and then I will probably pour it away or lose some of the milk. And that was why I waited till the next day when it had settled. Then I had already scooped something. There was little space in the bucket. Then I brought it downstairs. So here is me scooping it out. So when I'm done, I will scoop out this fat fork. You can see the coconut oil on the table. You can see that this is almost half a liter. I'll be showing us the end result at the end of the video. So stay tuned. So the process of getting the cold process, as well as the how tedious it is to get the cold process, may be another reason why some people insist on cold process. Now we are done with scooping the coconut oil, the cold press I mean. I'm scooping out the remaining fat so that I can take it to, I can put it on fire. I can go and cook it to get more oil, because that fat still has oil, like I explained while I was making the video of the hot pressed coconut oil. So please, when you need cold press, don't just ignore the remaining fat and say I've gotten all my cold press. You can see that this is the same process. We try to scoop out the whole fat on top of the bucket. You can see that beneath is water. So we try our best to make sure that the little content, the minimal measurement of water is what we get. We're not going to be packing water on fire. So here is the fat that we are pouring on fire. If you watch the previous video, you will see that this is having a more whitish look, even though after it will look burnt. When you cook it, it's going to be looking burnt, but never mind. You are going to see the way you can see the oil will be removed into a pot. So we'll be scooping it little by little. We're scooping it little by little. The oil will be coming up. As you know, I use this pot to cook several that same day. So I had some burns. Something was burning on time. I didn't burn myself. I was talking about the pot anyway. So gradually like that, we scooped out the oil, and here we are. So here we are after we are done with scooping out the oil. So it is important for us to understand that it's a process, and the process must be followed accordingly. If we refuse to follow the process, we may not get the desired results. Now here we are. You can see me showing you the cold process oil, and I'm pouring it into that container to measure it. This measurement is I'm trying to show you the measurement now. This measurement is around 700 or thereabouts. I hope you can see the line as I'm showing you there. So I'll be pouring it inside this container. This container is a 500 ml container, so it's not going to take the whole coconut oil. I mean the cold pressed coconut oil. So as you are going to be pouring it inside, you can see that it didn't contain that. So I'll be pouring it inside this other container. As I'm pouring it inside this other container, I'll be just calculating the total measurement of my cold pressed coconut oil. So by the time we are done, we are going to talk about the total content, the total oil, both cold pressed, both hot pressed, the total liters of oil that we have gotten in this whole coconut. Now please, I used a particular number of coconuts, which I'll be explaining when it's time for me to start measuring and start discussing about the profit aspect. Now this one that I'm showing us is the one that after removing the cold press with spoon, I now took the fat from on top of the water of the coconut that I peeled the back. I took it back and put it inside my pot like I showed you earlier in the video. And this is the coconut oil that I got from that version. So this coconut oil is also hot pressed coconut oil. I'm supposed to pour it inside this 5-liter container. I am pouring it inside this container so that we'll be able to understand that we still got hot press from the second batch, the second video production that I just did today. Now here is the leftover or the hot press that I did earlier. I'm trying to sieve it. I don't have my sieve there, so I will not be able to finish everything. I'm going to come back to show you this. Thank you, and hope to see you in my next video.